there's 4 things I want people to think about when it comes to food choices, right? I want to deal with these 4 things because these 4 things govern your existence and why you do what you do. Values, beliefs, norms, and culture. These things are where the conversation is at, right? So when we're talking about the biological essence, when we talk about the psychology, when we talk about culture, this is the framework: values, beliefs, norms, and culture. So very quickly, when we say values, they permeate our lives, they define who we are, right? Learned from socialization. So concept of what's desirable and undesirable, that's important because you learn that in your home when you're growing up. Our beliefs, conceptions of reality, what do we think and how do we interpret reality, right? Our proposition about how the universe works, which leads us to our norms, our principles, rules, and standard of behavior, right? I want to highlight the word standard because when we say wealth, the real generational wealth is genetic wealth. That is the real fundamental wealth. It's genetic wealth. And we have to ask ourselves, beyond leaving our children land and houses and all these things, are you leaving your children, are you passing on the right genetic code so they can actually function and aspire to do great things on this plane? Because if you pack your body with disease, that is exactly what you're going to pass on, right? And I'm going to mention on what that study is called, right? It's called epigenomics. And epigenomics talks about environmental factors that affect your genetic code, right? Because what people don't understand, here's an example. Who has pets in the house? Who has pets in the home? Anyone that's got pets? I've just put a yes for me in the chat if you've ever seen the owner and their pet look alike. And you just, it just stands out to you. You see like your dog, you and your pet are a bit, especially when it comes to dogs and things of that nature. The reason why I say that is because your environment, right? Your environment has a lot to do with what your genetics are expressing or how they're expressing themselves. Your environment has a lot to do with that. Something called horizontal gene transfer. It means that how do we pass on genes that's not vertical, that's not from mommy and daddy. It comes from the environment that you're in. You are sharing genetic material with your environment. So, which lands me onto culture, a guide for behavior, right? A mental map. Our culture has become very, very toxic to our health as far as the way we look at food, right? I give you an example. My grandmother thinks shoving as much food in me as possible is how she shows her love for me.
Right.
Okay? That is her love language for me. That is her norm. That is her belief. That is her values. And that is her culture. Mm-hmm. How much food can I get into my grandson because he looks too thin? What's the issue? Every time I go back home and I've lost weight, she thinks I'm sick or I'm hiding something.
Right.
And because in her principle and norms and beliefs, you should be bigger, right? Our culture of where we come from now with food has religious implications because for some of us that have our religious sectors that we submit to have dietary requirements in it. You know what I mean? Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whatever it is, then there is the traditional method of your home, where you come from. I'm from Sierra Leone. So we have a way of, food is a big deal, right? If you're from Ghana, I can imagine the whole of Africa, the whole of the world, food is always a big deal. But you look at the cultural references, you start to see why is then disease prevalent amongst us? Because everybody loves food, right? And we're gonna deep dive into that.